Good morning from God's long lost mitten. We got high gas prices. We got, how do you put it? Leftist overreaction and twisting of the truth. I guess is a good way to put it. More importantly, we have Miss Monica. How you doing today?
Doing well. Real interesting lineup today with all of the things that are going on in the world today, and a little bit of local political news for the mitten.
Yeah, it really just shows that these policies and these behaviors that leftists engage in, and again, if you know what I mean when I say leftist, you understand. And we'll get into it a bit more. It's very difficult these days to divide left and right. Even Democrat, Republican mean nothing. But there are liars, and there are people and there is truth hidden that they're trying to hide. Anywho, you know what? I think instead of just...
we can't do much about that.
No, come on, man. You know what? That's a good segue right there. Let's hop right over to our first article from Breitbart. We're all suffering from these gas prices. Let's hear what our potato in chief says. Joe Biden shrugs off high gas prices. Can't do much right now. President Joe Biden shrugged at high gas prices on Tuesday, just hours after promising Americans he would do whatever it took to lower them. Can't do much right now, he told reporters when asked about the spike in gas prices. Biden spoke about gas prices after exiting blah, 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 blah. No one cares about you, he says. When reporters asked Biden what his message to Americans suffering the effects of high gas prices was, he replied, They're gonna go up, man. Come on, man. Just gotta invade Ukraine, man. So, and the worst part about this, I'm not gonna play the video, but when they asked him, he literally just said, they're gonna go up. Can't do much right now. Russia's responsible. Yes, it's Russia's fault. Russia canceled the Keystone Pipeline day one, and Russia was actually drumming up the gas prices over the past year. Go ahead, just. Oh, yeah.
Well, I shot myself in the foot, and it was the gunmaker's fault. It had nothing to do with what I did there.
Yep.
But yeah, this is just stupidity wrapped around stupidity.
Yep.
I mean, all of the things that the arguing points that they're making. It used to be that when the other side tried to persuade you to do something,
yep,
they would argue something that reached you on some level.
Oh yeah, appeal to emotion,
with it somehow. And they've gotten to the point where they're just gonna do what they want to do, and whether or not they have your buy-in, who cares?
Yep.
Can't do much about that right now.
It was really funny. I do remember on the campaign trail, and I thought about bringing it up because the clip is out there of Biden. I want to say it was August of 2020. He was literally, I believe he was in Pennsylvania saying, I'm going to say this right now, I'm not banning fracking. I'm not banning fracking. Day one bans fracking. I mean, this is just, they say what they need to say so that the people who only read headlines, don't do research, don't understand what's going on, go, I'm with that guy. He said things I like.
Oh, you know what? I should have sent you the link.
What was that?
Kamala.
I
always
don't even care if you pronounce it the wrong way.
So she goes on PBS.
Willie Brown's Hope.
Did you see? You didn't see the clip of her talking about imagining?
Oh my God, dude!
The zero emissions? She's
like Jen Psaki. I can't even.
No, this was even worse.
Oh,
and Ben Shapiro equated it to, what did he say? If she had a red balloon, then I would be completely terrified. Because she's a clown. But she is the type of clown that really takes your fears and uses them against you. This woman stood in front of people and said, imagine a world where large vehicles that transport all of our goods have zero emissions.
Wow.
You imagined it. Wow. She literally looked into the audience and said, you imagined it. Like we're all on some mushroom acid trip. We're just sitting there going, the world is great because I imagined it.
I like this game. Imagine a world where criminals are prosecuted like the ones leading this country.
Yes.
I really despise these people sometimes, and we'll get into that a little more because the disconnect between these Marie Antoinette-esque POSs and the common working people is growing. And it's not just growing. They have a crowbar out. They are trying their hardest to push us out to sea it is that the gap has grown that exponentially over the past couple of years, mostly because of COVID.
It's because they want and again, another great analogy from someone we watch, was they want to treat us like the Lost Boys in Hook, where they sit down at the table. Imagine that there's food there.
Oh yeah, that's called
imagine
that's
that
called
you're
communism.
having a great time.
Socialism, yes. Yeah.
Just imagine it, and it'll make you feel good enough for me to get away with whatever I want.
Yeah, right. You'll feel just so warm, and doesn't that just taste good? Oh, I'm not actually eating anything. Well, imagine you are.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So when it comes down to it, apparently they just want us to imagine that our cars are moving product. And
yeah, no kidding. The irony of that is we're actually going to take the Lost Boys, and I'm just going to throw it all the way over to Joe Pantoliano in The Matrix, where he's eating the steak, and he says, I know this steak isn't real, but it's delicious. The Matrix is telling me it's amazing. That's what it is. The Matrix is. Now, granted, there is a real Matrix run by a creepy, inhuman lizard man monster named Zuckerberg, but that aside...
I mean,
they really want that.
They're grooming us to get us ready for that idea.
Yeah. Grooming, that's an interesting word. We'll come back to that one in a bit. But back to the article. The president appeared nonchalant about gas prices just hours after he promised to work to bring them down. Oh, yeah, he's been promising. You've been in office for over 40 years, and it didn't hit the fan until you were in control, and all your cronies were destroying everything.
Well, I love how he says in there, Putin's
I was going to say, I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home. Putin's price hike. Who is stupid enough to think that the price hike, which has been growing, granted we just had a big one, but has been growing since, I don't know, sometime last year when something happened, I forget what it was, is now all entirely because of Putin.
Well, and here's another thing. Look at who owns the oil. So who profits from us all paying this extra amount? Well, it's not Putin, because it's not his oil, right?
No, not for the most part.
Where is that extra? What is it? Up $2 a gallon more than what we were paying?
I think, didn't the chart we looked at yesterday show that we only actually purchase about 3% of our gas from them, something along those lines?
Oh, I can't remember.
It's a minority because Jen Psaki was trying to say, well, we produce more. We're not buying all of ours from them. Although, Jesus. Anyways, it's interesting you should bring up the industry leaders, because one thing that we do have here, which actually is a nice segue into the next article, because, of course, all that article is just, Biden is basically shrugging, oh, come on, man, just drive less, man. Just lower the prices. That seems to be their solution to everything, where you mentioned the leaders. From the PM, we have oil industry leaders accuse White House of being misleading over domestic energy production issues. The rhetoric coming from the administration and everything that is anti-fossil fuel informs these choices. This is a nice little throwback to what you said yesterday about, basically, I was arguing the point of malice, because I think these people, I'm not going to beat around the bush, I think these people are evil. I think they are purposely trying to tank our country, destroy our country at the behest of China, because, of course, they've been talking Russia for the last 6 years, while China's slowly, not so slowly, taking over everything. However, on topic, you argued that it wasn't malice we could attribute it to stupidity, in the form of they really think that green is the future, and the only way they can do it is to tear down the system and from the ashes build anew. And the worst part is, I can't actually argue with you when they say crap like this, and when the experts come out and say, yeah, they're full of crap. So leading experts in the energy sector fired back to the claims made by the White House press secretary, who on Monday insinuated it's the fault of oil companies for supply issues surrounding getting gas prices back down for America. Because the oil companies, they are responsible for... Well, see, and the problem is, I was going to make a joke about them being the ones pushing a vaccine requirement. The trucker issue that we're still running into. It's still going on now, because the vaccination crap hasn't gone away just because they stopped talking about it. It's all still out there getting pushed. But then I have to actually stop and remember that there is no law for vaccination. Nothing was voted on. Nothing was passed. So if I were to make a joke about the oil companies being responsible for this policy, well, it kind of is their fault, because they followed lockstep with the last agenda of vaccinations. And now, well, we're in this situation where, look at Ottawa and the trucker convoy.
I think this. Okay, I can't even equate this to the idea of the vaccinations because it's two completely separate issues.
Sure.
But when you're looking at the oil issue, I think we're discounting the middleman. Because if you think about it, we have your everyday consumer.
Right.
We want oils flowing and we want to be making money off of it. And these producers want wells that are bubbling over and to be selling their oil, right? Sure. So the people who really profit would be the middleman, the people who make a profit off of oil prices going up. Our stock market.
Well, that is a good point, because it is a situation where as much as we want to say, and I do firmly believe a majority of this is the administration's fault, because it is, at the same time, it's not. The price of barrels shooting up isn't because somebody went, we're going to stop producing and flick a switch and the price is up. It's, like you said, speculators.
No, but they put a stranglehold on things. So, like she says, they need to use the 9,000 approved drilling permits that are not being used. Here we go.
Yep. Oh, here, let me go through this real quick so we can just catch up with what you're talking about. Okay. So this is from Ducey, who is awesome. He says, you say you're going to do everything you can to reduce the impacts high gas prices have. We're asking other countries to think about pumping more oil. Why not just do it here? He's, of course, referring to the Keystone Pipeline. Psaki insists, quote, federal policies are not limiting the supply of oil and gas. Ducey says in an executive order, Biden's first week, halted new oil and gas leases on public land. Psaki replies, let me give you the facts here. And I know that can be inconvenient. God, I hate this. But they're important. There are 9,000 approved permits not being used. Sorry, go on. Just that's more for the podcast listeners who can't see what we're looking at. So sorry.
Yes, absolutely. So when we're looking at this article and we're looking at the way that she's laying out, in one of our favorite movies, Knives Out, they talk about you're going to tell the story, you're going to tell it with just these details. So you're not lying.
Fragments of the truth.
Fragments of the truth.
It also helps with the fact checkers, yeah.
And it will help you get away with murder.
Oh, easily.
So let me give you the facts here, and I know that can be inconvenient. So we're playing to the emotional role. 9,000 approved permits not being used. I would like to know, of those 9,000 approved permits, how many are land that are for property that does not bear oil?
Yes, that's true. There's a lot of details in there that we do not know about.
The fact that they've halted new oil and gas leases on public land makes it harder for prospectors to go after that oil.
Well, Fox News, as continuing the article, asked industry leadership to fact-check the claims made by the Biden administration about who's to blame for the current issues at hand with domestic oil production. They remarked how the, quote, current regulatory framework on the federal government's part is what needs to be addressed. What Jen Psaki said in response was that oil companies simply need to, quote, drill more from the 9,000 approved drilling permits that are not being used, included in a roundup of what leaders in the U.S. energy industry had to say about Psaki's comments. Okay. CEO Ann Bradbury responded that it's really a distraction from the fact that this administration has paused leasing on federal land, something we're concerned about and something that we think needs to continue right away. And that's one of the big things that President Trump did, was he opened up federal lands, which brought down the price because obviously between the Keystone Pipeline and the movement on federal lands, speculators were allowing the price of gas to drop, which is why we all got to enjoy a national average of, what was it? I think the national average was like 189 something. Well, no, actually I think it was 204 because you got to count California in that one.
you got to have a weighted average with
you do. I mean, we say that, and where it's $4 everywhere around where we are, I actually did see an image out of Death Valley where it was over $9.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know who still lives there is my question. But anyways, and then we hop over to the Bradbury pointed out how long it takes to explore and develop a federal lands lease from start to finish, and emphasized how the Biden administration is legally mandated to sell these leases. So they don't have a choice. So if Jen Psaki says, well, they got these things, well, we had to sell them, but it doesn't mean you can actually do anything with them. They're, like you said, federally mandated to sell these leases. American Petroleum Institute CEO Mike Summers said that the White House certainly doesn't have their facts straight on the topic. He mostly added to Bradbury's remark about the lengthy process involved, from going to land lease to a full-fledged oil-producing operation on viable properties. I mean, this actually kind of reminds me of the conversation yesterday about enemy regimes, and when they see something going on here that they don't approve of, and all they can say is, well, we know how the American system works, we're just going to wait, and when a weak feckless leader comes in, then we make our move. It's kind of the same situation here, only a little bit more from the consumer side, where they say, okay, well, this guy is pro what we want to do, we better make sure the next guy is too. And then when the next guy comes in and says, oh, I'm all about green, man. I'm all about climate change. No more of this crap. Well, suddenly they're like, I'm glad we didn't commit the resources to doing that. It's very hard to go out on a limb knowing that the next psycho that comes in could just say, I don't approve, and then you're shut down.
Well, and I think that we have such an issue with this because there's more than just the two sides of the story when it comes to oil. There's the monetary side of things, there's the environmental impact, and whether or not we believe that global warming is a thing, whether or not we believe that carbon emissions are going to be, and I'm not even going into that side of it.
No. You can leave that at the door. It's not.
Obviously, we don't want our country reliant on any other country for anything.
It would be nice.
It'd be nice to be able to cut all of that off and say, you know what? If war breaks out, if we have to stand our ground on something, we are not reliant on that neighbor for anything to keep us alive.
I mean, it's so simple. It just can never be done, unfortunately.
Exactly,
it just can never be
that feeds into the idea that we have to imagine. But then you have this whole, like when you're talking about the economic side of things, you have the oil drillers, you have the people producing it and making money off of it, all of the steps in between.
Yeah.
And then you also have the stock market playing a role in that and people who buy into these stocks.
True.
Back when Trump was in office, we know individuals who purchased oil stock when it was super, super low. It was at an all-time low.
Oh, it was a great purchase.
Now they're making a killing. So for them to say, yeah, we're going to make a bunch of money off this and we're going to feel good about ourselves because we're promoting it as a green thing.
Yep.
There are people who buy into the idea that being green is the best way to be, and absolutely I believe in doing a compost pile. I believe in being self-sufficient. I believe in reusing.
You believe in homesteading. That is a lot different. That is not being green. I guess technically it is.
It is.
That is not relying on a corrupt and incompetent government. That's saying, you know what? You guys ain't got your crap together, so I'm just going to do it myself.
I believe in being more self-sufficient.
I agree, 100%.
The less that you have to lean on someone, the more you can give to that relationship.
You know what is really interesting about the green argument? And I always think about this when someone brings up, like, well, we gotta, get away from fossil fuels because we want to be green, man.
Because the oceans are listening.
Because the oceans are listening, bro. Getting past the stereotype, I always just want to say to these people, okay, so you want North America, particularly America, not even too much Canada or Mexico, but particularly America, to shut down all of their, anything that's not supremely climate conscious, bro. However, at the same time, you're okay with the world's largest polluters continuing on. Like, if it's global warming, why are you okay with us buying gas from them and not just doing our own? Is it because, well, my air will be cleaner than those Chinese people's air, so you know what? It's all right with me, bro. It's the hypocrisy of the entire thing, and that's the problem with these idiots is it's just nothing but hypocrisy and lies.
Well, it also I think is a little bit of the idea that they're very bad managers.
Oh
my God, dude. And a bad manager will put you in a position where they want you to produce something. Yep. They want us to produce these vehicles with zero emissions. They want our country to launch forward technologically. They personally don't know how to do any of this because they're stupid.
It's just like you said.
But we've allowed them to lead us because we're trying to innovate.
I'm going to put air quotes around the word allowed.
We have allowed them to lead us. We've allowed them to get into these positions, and we haven't spoken up because a lot of the people who have the more conservative view on things are running their own businesses. They're handling their day-to-day. They're doing their homesteading.
So less government. I agree.
Yes.
Less government, less people in control going, okay, close your eyes.
But because we weren't paying attention to government, we allowed it to grow out of control.
We got lethargic.
Yes.
We did. We were on top. The 90s were fantastic, and we just sat back and we went, all right, we're going to take a little nap. And then we woke up and went, oh my God.
Oh my God, they use the term charity for everything.
Oh, my heartstrings.
It's exactly what it is that you give and you give and you give. And then we've raised an entire generation of people that we've forgotten how to teach them to be self-sufficient.
Yes and no. By and large, that's what they want. They want people who are reliant on it, which is why colleges are pushing the socialist nonsense, which is why they're all just... I mean, the biggest problem is, and you can call me a capitalist if you want, but the biggest problem is we're reliant on the public sector. Do you know what the difference is between, the public and the private sector? In the private sector, they demand results. You have to be doing something, producing something, and it has to work and therefore make money. In the public sector, you're going to get paid no matter what. That's the beauty of socialism. You get paid no matter what. I ain't got to do anything. I can sit around, take my time. They ain't never going to fire me. I'm a public servant. Whereas in that private sector, if you don't deliver, you're gone.
Well, and don't ever underestimate somebody's ability to decide to do the least amount of work.
That reminds me of a quote. 2020, Barack Obama. Do not underestimate Joe Biden's ability to F things up. I'm quoting him, not directly, because we're family friendly. Because, he said it. Oh, boy. Interesting that you should mention the different elements of the entire process of, the entire gas industry, because we actually are... It's a good segue into our next article. Again, from the PM. This is actually leaders of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates reportedly avoid Biden's calls. So Russia isn't playing because, of course, we're declaring war and everything but saying it on them. However, Biden then reached out to the most cleanest of regimes as far as treating their people and others go, Saudis and the United Arab Emirates. And the funny thing is, apparently they both declined to take Biden's calls. And just to get saucier, apparently, I'm going to see if it's in this article, they declined to take Biden's calls, but they're taking calls from Putin. They're talking to Putin, not Biden. Let's see here. The de facto leaders of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have Emirates have reportedly been avoiding the calls of U.S. President Joe Biden. According to the Wall Street Journal, the White House was unsuccessful in attempts to arrange calls between Biden and the leaders, while the U.S. was attempting to build international support for Ukraine and stop the massive surge in oil prices. This is all from the angle that it's literally entirely Russia's fault.
Well, hold on. So now we're even. So we reached out to someone and they've slighted us. And I just have to say this for integrity.
Yep.
Look at the pictures they chose of these individuals at the top. Did those look like movie character villains?
I mean, it's pretty good. All we need is like Jason Bourne in the middle with a gun instead of Joe Biden going.
And even the look on Joe Biden's face, they seriously look like we're pinning off against them for negotiations.
It looks like he crapped his
real
pants.
Serious.
He needs his diaper changed.
No, I mean this is
poop myself in front of the Pope again.
None of these pictures show anyone smiling, relaxing, like we're in any type of open negotiation. Things are moving forward great. This is really like I'm a powerful, strong president. I'm going to stare down the barrel to make sure that That's
the strong face of our leader. That's the strong face.
That's as close as we can get to the strong face.
Oh, man.
Because all of his other pictures are him sniffing.
Don't bring up sniffing children. They don't like it when you talk about this president's past or his family's past or the showers with his daughter or his son. Okay, well, anyways, back on topic.
Yeah,
let's not zone it in. Let's not look at the president's history. No, he's been in the public eye for 40 years. Let's not talk about it. Anyways, you're right. I do think, and this is framing, of course, just another step of propaganda that, just like you said, if these talks were going well, you'd see happy, Saudi Arabia leader, happy United Arab Emirates, and then and then, of course, probably a better-looking Joe Biden who doesn't, of course, look like his poor little diaper needs changed. Give me back to Delaware. But back to the article itself. All right, where were we? Here we are. Officials from the U.S. and the Middle East told the outlet that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and I'm just going to say UAE's, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan both declined White House attempts to arrange the calls for Biden due to Saudi and Emirate Emirati criticism of American policy in the Gulf region. Oh boy. U.S. and Saudi officials told the outlet that their relationship with Washington has deteriorated during the Biden administration. Saudis are requesting support for their intervention in Yemen's civil war, help with their civilian nuclear program in response to moves by Iran, and immunity for Prince Mohammed from the U.S. legal system, who faces multiple lawsuits, including over the 2018 killing of a journalist. Interesting little thing here, and I will need to pull sources, but I believe... I want to say it was last week when all of this Russia stuff was hyping up. I did see an article that Joe Biden had resumed talks with Iran about their nuclear program. Like, he was sending people over there to kickstart that back up, which of course is a colossal mistake that President Trump had intervened in. But it seems like Obama's little bee is making his way into repairing that. Maybe we'll send him more pallets of cash. I don't know. But what do you make of this in that... As far as, other countries and us supposedly saying we need to find more allies who can produce stuff, and them saying, yeah, get bent. What do you make of that?
I mean, this just goes to show you that we keep leaning on people and we give them the power. Like, we have to stop doing this.
It's almost like they're outsourcing it for some kind of reason. Some kind of reset of great magnitude, but what do I know?
Because they want us to magically come up with the solution of having transport vehicles that have zero emissions.
Ah. Except it's more than that. What were you telling me yesterday about what they were asking? Oh man, I'm blanking. Why can't I remember his name? Elon Musk, about Russian Teslas.
It's more than that. The ability to shut them down.
Exactly. We'll shut them down remotely. Green cars are notorious. I mean, they're completely loaded with computer systems. They have to be.
But these people believe,
right?
Like and whether or not it is stupidity or the belief that they're at the top of the triangle pyramid. The what was it, backwards funnel scheme?
yes the inverted funnel scheme.
It's the inverted funnel scheme.
Yep.
They believe that they're at the top of it.
Yep.
They believe that if they get enough people to follow underneath them, they'll remain at the top of it.
Yeah.
They don't realize that these schemes are designed to fail.
Well, no, they realize it. They just know that they will never be left holding the bag.
No, I think some of them really... Well, yeah.
Yes, that's the thing. They will never be held accountable, so they don't care if these schemes fail because they're going to make their money and then we're going to pay for it.
Well, and I truly believe that there are people on that side, the most extreme, who their biggest problem is that they cannot look through another person's perspective.
Well, of course not.
And I think that's what we need to have, is the ability to see why they're doing the things that they're doing, and not necessarily that it's malice and intent that they want the entire world to burn.
Well,
like that episode, what was it, Timcast, where they were talking about the end of the world and all of the things that the religious leaders are triggering it on purpose because they're...
Oh, dude.
They want
that
Armageddon.
That was crazy. They want Armageddon. They want... Yeah, well, essentially, yeah, they want the tribulation. But that was... I think that was... Oh, man. That was a sect of an extremist Christian cult that... I believe that was actually more tied to Russian side of things, because if you've actually looked at their propaganda, and see, I'm not afraid to call it that because both sides are spitting it out, but if you look at their propaganda, they're patrioting Christian values and what they say is an invasion from a godless West. So it very much makes sense that there are essentially religious extremists in that, of coming from either Christian or Catholic origin, that do believe in something as crazy as that, which is no different than the other side believing that, you know, the Green Revolution is worth fighting and killing over. It's just a different, and I don't want to use the religion because, you know, I don't want to offend people who actually care enough about religion to not use it to start a war, but in a way, both sides are religions that they are devout and following.
Yeah, they're ideologies.
There you go.
You know, and this is something that you will always fight for, is once you have the buy-in. Mm-hmm. So you have to look for who's at the top of the pyramid scheme.
That's the tricky part. You know, it's lucky for us they don't dress up like Star Wars villains and call themselves the World Economic Forum. However, while we are talking about ivory tower elites and their, you know, let them eat cake attitude, let's hop over to our next article, the Daily Mail. This one. And God, you know, I'm just going to take a moment and say, I just want to say how sad it is. We loved the Colbert Report back in the
know.
day. It was so good. I loved it. I understand it was satire, but he did it well.
Well, and it was before we got married, so this tells you, I mean...
Oh, yeah, this was... I mean, everyone knows. Colbert Report was, what, 2015? I think it ended? 2016? It was right before he got the gig, the late-night gig, right before Hillary Clinton, I believe.
I can't remember, but I
think it was 2015.
Remember sitting down with you, watching the Colbert Report, laughing hysterically.
It was so good.
Thought there was a lot of stuff that he touched on that I thought was funny, and it just goes to show you when somebody shifts from being an everyday person, from someone who understands and becomes this person who's so out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
Like I love art and mediums and acting and getting all this stuff out here, but when it comes down to the point where you are so out of reach,
so just disconnected.
So disconnected.
It's sad to say that. I mean, Colbert. It was always a bit, and it may have been meant to mock, but he did it well enough where. We loved it. We loved it. And that's the difference. Again, that's one of those key differences between sides. Can you laugh at yourself? Can you laugh at a good joke, even if it's at your expense? And he did it well. But, I mean, you start to look into his history. There's pictures of him with the Democratic leaders when he was younger. John Podesta, especially, bad hombre. But it does make me wonder how much of it was legit, but it didn't matter. That's the beautiful thing about, I'm going to quote Gary from Nerdrotic, professional pretenders. The best thing about it is we don't have to care, and I wish they would understand this, we don't have to care about their real-life opinion. You're not here because I like Stephen Colbert. You're here because I liked Stephen Colbert. I liked the part that you played. I don't want to hear a word out of you outside of it. Not to say I wouldn't, because, of course, one of our favorite guys at the moment, and don't screw this up, man, don't screw it up, is Henry Cavill. I love hearing someone like that. Even, I hate to even admit it, Robert Pattinson. I love to hear these guys geek about games that we love, to see that, they're not self-absorbed Stephen Colbert D-bags. They're actually nice people. Get on top.
Well, and just like when you were talking about the conversation about Final Fantasy and how he totally got into that.
That was a great interview until Zoe Kravitz ruined it, but he just kept talking, and he was talking about characters and plot and what he loved about it, and you could just see that spark in him, like, I played many hours, and now's my time to shine.
Well, I think it brings you back to the time when you were connected. The Final Fantasy group and people who played those games and people who get into Comic-Cons and people who enjoy, like, when you have a group of friends who enjoy something together like D&D, you're able to relax, you're able to be yourself, you're able to hang out.
Hobby, yeah. Get hobbies, people.
And even people that you don't agree with a lot of the way that they run their household, you can hang out together and still have a great time and realize that you run your household and they run theirs.
True.
Maybe we as Americans need to start moving in that direction and away from the idea that I get to tell you what to do.
Bring back neighborhood parties is what you're saying, of the 60s. Remember when everyone used to come out and barbecue together and everything like that? Well, okay. Before we get too wrapped up in nostalgia land, I do want to go over this article. We just, sometimes you just got to rant. Anyways, Tesla driving Stephen Colbert, who earns $16 million a year, preaches that surging gas prices are worth it for a, quote, clean conscience. On Monday, Colbert spoke about Russia, which was recently hit with heavy sanctions by the U.S. and European allies. He earns $16 million a year and drives a Tesla Model S, which, okay, fine, I'm a little jealous. Said Americans should be willing to pay up in exchange for a clean conscience. God, this guy's a twat. During his opening monologue, Colbert spoke about Russia, which was recently hit with heavy sanctions by U.S. following the invasion of Ukraine. Colbert, who earns $60 million a year from his late-night gig, drives a Tesla Model S, said Americans shouldn't complain about having to pay the pump because it's the right thing to do. I wanted to find the exact quote of what he said. Here it is. And here's the chart. You can see we are, oh boy, we're definitely in the red. Anyways.
Yeah, did you watch the clip of him saying that?
I did, but I was going to read it because I'm still not entirely sure how the audio is going to come through, which is why we're not playing audio just yet. So he said, quote, today the average gas price in America hit an all-time record high of over $4 per gallon. Okay, that stings, but a clean conscience is worth $1 or $2. It's important. I'm willing to pay $4 a gallon. Hell, I'll pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
See, that's the thing. So if you take this out of if you just take this statement and you make it extremely sarcastic, it would play well for comedy. I'd pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
I mean, I get it. Yes, I get it. It could be funny. It very well could be funny.
He's not. The way he delivered it's so
snooty
cringe.
And condescending and cringe. Exactly.
Well, and his timing is so off on it.
It's garbage.
And and I don't know if it was a live audience or a laugh track, but whatever they did on the show seemed very off.
Oh, I believe it is a live audience, especially since they've completely forgotten that the worst and most terrible pandemic is a thing of the past. But I do believe it is now a full live audience again. But the problem is, just like all of them, these people are there because they subscribe to what he's selling.
Well, and you can tell that because when he says, I'll pay $15 a gallon, and they start to cheer.
Oh, we don't drive anyways.
And they cut off the part where he says, because I drive a Tesla, that you can almost not hear that part.
Oh, really?
When he's talking, or at least from how I remember.
Oh, so they were trying to frame it as he's like patriotic.
Yes.
And since he missed the delivery of his own joke. Okay.
Yes, and they jumped in and they're like, yeah, pay $15 an hour. And they thought that's where he was going with it. When really it was because I drive a Tesla. It doesn't have anything to do with real world application of $15 a gallon. It has to do with the idea that he thought he was being funny.
Yep.
They thought he was virtue signaling, and their wires got crossed.
Their wires got crossed.
Because they've subscribed to this idea that, yes, pay everything for everything. Money appears out of nowhere. Because for the last 2 years, there's checks that have gone out. There are systems in place that have not allowed the American people to fail.
Yeah.
And we're just about to do another round of checks, I believe, is what I heard.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Just keep
certain
printing
states
money.
are
That'll
already
work.
doing that, where they're releasing more COVID funds.
Oh, they're just... How can you not... Never attribute to malice that which can be...
Well, because... So here's the thing. You cannot say that it's malice because they were completely stumped by the fact that Americans spent those stimulus checks that were supposed to go towards luxury items. Mm-hmm. They spent them on things that they needed.
Are you for real?
I know.
Are you for real?
I know.
That is not what the plan was. It's not the plan, people.
It wasn't supposed to do that. You were supposed to spend it on things that, like electric vehicles. That was supposed to be your down payment for your loan on your electric vehicle.
Yeah, I thought it was like 60 grand.
Yeah, on average.
Let them eat cake.
But that's the thing. They don't understand the concept that people will do what they need to do before they do what they want to do.
Of course not. I mean, he's a millionaire. He doesn't think about this stuff. And this audience, which are all, I'm guessing, either people who commuted in or live in New York, where I believe this was filmed, they're taking public transportation. They're not worried about it either because, of course, to them, well, the bus drives. I don't got to buy gas. The bus driver does. Oh, I don't got to worry about food because the grocery store is where it comes from. So that the grocery store has to worry about food. It's all deflection and it's all just nonsense. However, while we're on the topic of nonsense, I do want to segue into our next...
Well, hold on real quick to wrap up that point. It's because none of them believe in trickle-down economics.
Well, no. They've spent years demonizing
They don't realize that trickle-down economics works both ways.
I mean, they're still trying to say that Republicans are the party of the rich and trying to claim Trump's tax cuts only benefited the rich when they are literally pairing up with every big industry. Like, if you think you're the resistance and you're parodying the same slogan that Amazon and Walmart and everybody is, guess what? You're part of the machine. That's all you are. There is no resistance.
The thing that is that everyday people, the ones who are not in front of the camera most of the time, don't believe this.
That's a lot of credit.
They don't believe most of the things that are printed in the news. That's why viewerships have gone down on, CNN's in the toilet. It has been for quite some time.
Ratings-wise, yes.
Yeah, ratings-wise.
It lives in the toilet.
Everything that they're pushing, people have walked away from. Look at how much of a jump Netflix got, and then look at when they started to go woke with the streaming services. Like, everybody shifted from watching media.
You mean when they put the Obamas on the board?
They shifted from watching media to watching entertainment. Mm-hmm. And then when entertainment became another push for agenda, which, I mean, it always has, it's just not as in your face, shove it down your throat. Look what happened to the Disney Plus subscriptions during that woke episode of
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yes,
yep.
That was where we almost dropped off. I said, you know what, let's finish it, but I didn't. I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to happen because of the crap that Anthony Mackie spouts off about this and that. I'm like, there's no way they're not going to do it. And it would be so great if they didn't, or if they did it. I thought that when that conversation, maybe I went a little tangent here. I thought that conversation that Anthony Mackie's character had with the kid, where the kid's like, I thought you were Black Falcon. He's like, it's just the Falcon. He's like,
yes.
No, Black Falcon. He goes, no, it's just the Falcon. I thought that was it. I was like, There it is. They did it, and they did it well.
Yes.
And then what happens in the very next scene? Get away from him! Get away from that guy! It's like, no, we're just walking together. It doesn't matter. I'm going to shoot him. It's like,
no, I mean, there was a very cringe moment there that made you go, okay.
And not to mention the end.
It takes you out of what you're watching for entertainment.
Yep.
It reminds you of why you stopped watching the media.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't connect to anything in your life, so the media just becomes this big lie. And then it pushes you into this, okay, so I cannot, I think maybe we just need to go out and buy stock in all of the home improvement stuff, because if I can't watch the news and I can't watch the media, or I can't watch entertainment, then what am I going to do next? Yeah. I'm going to turn on, I'm going to grow stuff, I'm going to improve my house, I'm going to get back to the things that I'm supposed to do.
No, homesteading is definitely making a comeback. However, I don't think that there's a stock you can buy, mostly because people don't have money. So I have a feeling when they are going back to homesteading, it's going to be like, give me an axe, I'm going to cut down a tree.
Oh, no, that was a joke, because we're definitely veering away from the idea of the middleman.
Yes.
In the economy and in the way that we function.
The economy has to be doing well for a middleman to succeed. And
exactly.
If the economy is in the gutter and they're just doing everything they can to push it down farther, then no one's going to see. Now, bringing it back to what we were talking about, so Stephen Colbert, of course, Tesla driving $16 million a year. I don't care how much I have to pay for gas. It really just shows the disconnect that they have, which can be exemplified pretty well with this. I'm sure you've heard of it. From the Daily Mail, I love how this is framed. Florida passes controversial, quote, don't say gay bill that restricts speech in public classrooms on sexual orientation and gender identity after one lawmaker raised concerns that children were being trendy and coming out as gay. The bill was sponsored by Rep. Joe Harding, who voiced concerns that coming out as gay was becoming a trend for children. The measure has sparked a swell of proud to be gay protest. Oh, that's just beautiful. Who have showcased the transgender and alphabet flags at the state capitol. You know what? Before we go on any more with this article, because I'm sure people have seen this all over. Don't say gay, don't say gay. We're going to take just a hot moment. I have that bill. We are going to read this bill. And we're going to see exactly what it says. Let me try to make it big enough so you can see it. Is that all right? A little bigger? A little bigger? Probably a little bigger. Too big. There we go. Okay, so the bill, the Parental Rights in Education. So far, so good. So, it requires district school boards to adopt procedures that comport with certain provisions of law for notifying students' parent of specified information. So far, so good. Requires such procedures to reinforce fundamental right of parents to make decisions regarding upbringing and control of their children. Seems reasonable. Prohibits school district from adopting procedures or student support forms that prohibit school district personnel from notifying parents about specified information or that encourage students to withhold from parents such information. Wow. Prohibits school district personnel from discouraging or prohibiting parental notification and involvement in critical decisions affecting students' mental, emotional, or physical well-being. Prohibits classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in certain grade levels. I believe that was, I think it's down below, but it was kindergarten through third grade. Is it down here?
Yep, it was to third grade, I believe. Is what
I was going to say, it should be in here. I remember watching the thing where DeSantis said what it was, but, anyways. Requires school districts to notify parents of healthcare services, authorizes parents to bring action against school district to obtain a declaratory judgment, provides for additional award of injunctive relief, damages, and reasonable attorney fees and court costs to certain parents. Also, don't say gay. Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry. Was that in there?
No.
So the TLDR of this, of course, is we don't want to be teaching this stuff to kids, young kids. We want to notify the parents if anything's going on, and we certainly don't want to not notify parents about anything going on with their children. That is what the bill says. So let's hop back over to this article. Don't say gay bill. What a way for them to frame it. The measure has sparked where it did that. After the bill passed, Democrats reinstated their condemnation for the bill and assured the alphabet youth they would continue fighting for equality. I don't even want to read Rep. Carlos Smith's statement. It's all lies. It is just lies and blatant manipulation. This has nothing to do with that. These are people who don't have children who are upset that they cannot groom your children. If anything, this is an anti-grooming bill. And I'm okay to call it that because it literally says in the bill, hey man, if this stuff's going on, you should probably notify the parents. Don't push it and just move on because it has no place in school, especially for kindergarten to third graders. Mama Bear, give me something here.
So, a couple years ago, we had an issue with one of our children.
Oh, this is a good one.
A counselor at the school. There was an issue. Some things were said. I was notified. We were brought in. My response as a parent was, "This is my area.
Yep.
This is not your area as a principal. This is not your area as a vice principal. This is not your area as a counselor. This is my area as a parent to teach my child, to take control of their emotional growth."
Yep.
And the counselor and I did not see eye to eye on how to raise a child.
It's a mild way to put it. The counselor, as this bill insinuated, felt that she should be the one grooming the child.
I'm totally on board with the idea of this bill because we ran into an issue where with the schools now leaning towards social emotional growth as being part of the curriculum, they now have started overstepping.
Well, yes, at any point, doesn't matter the subject, if a teacher says to a student, don't tell your parents,
yes,
there's a problem.
Yes. And this counselor went behind what I said.
Yep.
Because I went in there and I listened to what she had to say. I did not agree with her approach to things, which is my right as a parent because I'm raising my child the way that I want to raise my child. And I told the principal and I told the counselor point blank that she would no longer be meeting with my child, that my child, if there was ever an issue with certain things that the school deemed a red flag, she was to be brought directly to the office, not to the counselor's office, to the office, to the front office of the school, and to be told to sit in a chair. I was to be called and I would be there momentarily.
Beautiful. Parents taking responsibility for their kids. What?
And going with that, I turned around and had a conversation with our child and said, I essentially put the fear of God into her.
As rightfully so, because it was, as we clearly saw it, it was just drama and for attention.
It was inappropriate behavior for the sake of getting out of math
Exactly.
class.
It was, I don't want to do math, so I know if I say certain things, they'll send me to the counselor, and that's exactly what she did.
Yes.
We saw right through it, the counselor latched on as though this was a soul in need.
And it should have ended there.
Oh boy, that's right, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And then this is the problem, and this is the overstep. You didn't know where I stood, and that's okay. And as a parent, if I were to not get involved at that point and say that you can take the reins, then I'm handing over my responsibilities as a parent, and I'm allowing you to make that judgment call for my child. I didn't do that. I didn't hand over the reins, and I clearly said, stay out of it.
Yep.
About a week and a half to 2 weeks later, my child was in class during a math test. Our child.
Same thing.
But I was the one who received the call, so I was the one who got to, get into it with this person. So during her math class, this counselor took it upon herself with nothing new had developed, nothing had even happened. She decided to call our child's classroom and call her down to the counselor's office in the middle of a test to have a discussion about her feelings.
Her feelings care more about the facts.
Well, and even at that point, her feelings, I have already had this conversation with you to stay away from my child. You don't get to reach out. You don't get to subvert the parent. You don't get to decide what is best for them. No.
Nope.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
So I talked to the principal. The principal then brought Allie to the office and called me and said, there was an incident. I later on, you and I got to know that principal very well and
yes,
absolutely adored her. She's an
amazing
woman.
Did a good job.
She's wonderful.
Yep.
And even the assistant principal at the time, pulled Allie out of that situation, got a hold of me. But that counselor should have been terminated on the spot.
On the spot. Undermine the parents.
There are legal grounds there for us as parents to step in and say, absolutely not. And that's what this bill is trying to prevent.
Exactly. And that's just it. When you take into context that these things happen in everyday life, and it's not even like, we can't even say the entire school's to blame or anything of that nature, because like you said, there's good eggs, there's bad eggs. However, if you have a problem with legislation that says if the bad egg oversteps their line, they will be held accountable, then I have to ask, okay, groomer, what's your motivation here for being against this? And why is everything turned into the GOP hates the alphabet community, the GOP hates this, the GOP hates that? This has nothing to do with anything. This is bipartisan supported, or at least it was until it got passed, and then now all of a sudden it's an issue of controversy. It's like they have nothing. They're so just completely removed from what society is really like. It's like everything is a Twitter challenge now.
We've got to stop calling them the alphabet community. LGBTQ.
Get out of here, man. They're going to add more crap. Like, see, that's more syllables than what I did. The alphabet community is what they are. And the crazy thing is, anybody who proclaims that they are a member of this community proudly proclaims it, is probably going to end up being offended by this law. Whereas anyone who is a rational thinker and their preferences are their own, they don't wear them on their sleeves, will look at this bill and go, okay, yeah, if I had kids, I wouldn't want the teachers messing with them. Okay, sure.
Exactly. And it comes down to they're trying to stir up this mentality that it is one thing when it's not.
Oh, yeah. Like that dude we saw on Libs of TikTok who was losing his mind.
Yes.
I'm gay, you're not.
Anybody who went through what I went through, okay, well, if you were in a relationship where you were being emotionally abused, if you were in a household that for whatever reasons did not believe that that was your sexuality and you fought against that, that's your story.
Yep.
That is not, they have to stop making it into that's everyone's story.
Oh, of
that's
course.
not my story.
Right, exactly.
That's not the majority of people's story. Otherwise, you're saying that the majority of people have been suppressed their entire lives. You can't say that everyone was suppressed. That's just not
No,
the
of
world.
course. If everyone's oppressed, no one's oppressed. I mean,
yes.
It's how it goes. But we're going to, this is tying in the Colbert, the disconnect, and everything with these leftists and liberals about how society really is. I've got this article from Breitbart about Hollywood leftists freaking out at Disney CEO Bob Chapek over Florida bill barring sexuality instruction for kids. You notice that right there? Like Breitbart calls it out. It bars sexual instruction for kids. For kids. For kindergarten through third grade. They didn't say over don't say gay bill, because that's not what it is. But yet these idiots. So Bob Chapek comes out. He says, okay, where is it? Oh, where is it? The Walt Disney Company shaming CEO Bob Chapek for his decision to refrain from commenting on Florida's parental rights and education bill. So all he did was say, no comment. Because, of course, why would he need to comment on it? But, of course, they're losing their minds. Judd Apatow, complete cock. His customers are children. This bill harms children in ways that will damage many for life. Like, did you read the bill?
Yes.
This is spoken by someone who is not a parent. And even if he has kids, he's not a parent. You know what I mean? They're so disconnected from the role they should be playing.
Why would the CEO of Disney have anything to do with my child's education?
That sounds like rational thinking.
It's because we've taken education and turned it into entertainment.
Excuse me, to quote Josh Gad, this bill is discrimination at its most base. There isn't a political issue. This is about humanity and decency. Please let me groom your children. I think that was there. It was in between the lines. Just let me do it. Oh, look. Oh, Mark Hamill.
Let free Florida say gay. Is that the hashtag?
Yes. Look at Mark Hamill's right below it. God, Mark. Oh.
I mean, is he coming out or is he?
Oh man, I hate that I'm a Star Wars fan sometimes, but that's just it. You know who I'm a fan of?
It has that.
I am a fan of Luke Skywalker. You know who that is not? That is
Mark
not
Hamill.
Luke Skywalker. That is Mark Hamill himself going gay, 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 gay.
Well, you have to be able to separate the artist.
Exactly.
From
The conversation
person.
before. This is what I mean. Stephen Colbert, the Colbert Report, fantastic. Stephen Colbert sucking up Fauci, not so fantastic. Luke Skywalker, fantastic.
Well, okay, and I'm gonna say something that is
God,
going
it just
to
goes on and on. I'm just gonna get into this dumb
to
article.
offend people.
Do it.
And
Feels
look right below it. So
Oh, hold
Gabrielle
on.
Union, Gabrielle,
Let me bring
whatever.
it back up.
Hashtag we say gay. Hashtag we say trans. Hashtag trans women are women. When you take away my label to give it to someone else.
Take it. I'm sorry. But this is indicative of the bigger problem.
We are not standing up for women by saying that trans women are women. Trans women are trans women.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And
That is like the nonsense with birthing persons. I gave birth to 3 persons.
persons. No, you
I'm
are
not a birthing person.
you are bigoted, and if you don't like that woman's pee, then you are a bigot. Yeah, these people are insane.
Gotta stop.
Well,
Like
it's not gonna
the
stop.
idea that no, because they're okay. I feel like I'm suffering from identity crisis because someone has stolen my identity and turned it into they are a woman and I can no longer be a woman.
Yeah, they're shattering your records too, but I guess they're technically not because that's a woman.
See, this is
It's disgusting. It's a complete inversion of reality.
It's a predatory practice where you take someone's identity and say that it's your own.
Oh, what is
I'm
it?
sorry if you were born with male genitalia, you are not a woman. I can test your DNA and tell you that you are a female or a male. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's not just the
It's not
DNA.
going to change my mind about
I
that.
mean, if they take this person, and I don't know if Gabrielle Union is. I mean, it doesn't matter because she's apparently a
Yeah, I don't
woman,
even know
which
who that
means
is.
she's apparently a trans woman as well because they're the same thing. So when they dig up, I can comfortably say when they dig up this trans woman, because of course it's the same thing.
Or is
When they
woman-
dig up this trans woman and they go, "All right, Mr. Archaeologist, what we got here?" I was like, "Well, judging by the bones, it was a man."
Oh my gosh, I just saw an article on that.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, where did it go? I'm gonna have to look it up now. So it was an archaeological dig,
Yeah.
and they identified this person as non-binary because genetically it was a male, but it was dressed in traditional female garb.
We are done as a society
So
if
now
this
we
is
have
how
just
it's going to happen.
decided that if you were a male back in the day and you wore a dress, you are now a non-binary. We have decided that for you. It has nothing to do with what we can test genetically. It just has to do with what your choice was if you liked a skirt or pants.
I am reminded of the classic The Emperor's New Groove, where Kronk was having a discussion with the little angel and the little devil, and they started arguing. And the little devil goes, "Look at him with that little sissy stringy thing he's got." And he says, "We've been over it. It's a harp." And he goes, "That's a harp, and that's a dress." And he says, "Robe." So this poor unfortunate man who has to bury me in my finest robes, dig him up and go, "Oh my God, this is so awesome. He wore a dress. He's trans. Trans has always existed."
Well, and then you look at, okay, so you don't, like, what if you don't know anything about the civilization and you're just assuming that at the time
They have the same ideals
because
I
so
do.
many things have changed. Like, what was it? I was reading, it was like a decade ago, where traditional roles between blue for boys and pink for girl was actually originally reversed, something like that. And it's funny to think societies change over time. So what metrics are we using to determine that this was female garb?
Chromosomes?
Maybe. Well, no,
Bone
garb.
structure?
Like,
okay. I see what you're saying. The
how-
garb.
How do we know that this robe or this dress was attributed to female wear at the time?
Because it looks like it.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like it.
It's kind of, again, we gotta love the pop cultural references. I'm thinking of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. How do you know she's a witch? She looks like one.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, and maybe the statement "trans women are women" is like the statement that a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's stupidity beyond stupidity, and we all have to stop focusing in on that idea that this one term defines who you are. Because you're a trans woman and somebody refuses to call you a woman has no bearing on the fact that you choose to be a trans woman. It doesn't affect that at all.
It's kind of ironic,
because they choose to call themselves women.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with.
Well,
it doesn't degrade me as a woman.
The irony of this whole thing, I believe, starting because they didn't want to be labeled in one way. They wanted to make up their own gender.
I can't even.
It's gone full circle now, where they just started saying, "Okay, everything's the same. Stop making up new terms. It's all the same." And it's like, well, if it's all the same and you're all women, then we're just back to women, except now the women appear to have man parts.
Well, and the reason that I'm not fighting back, like, I can pretend to be all upset about it and be like, you can't steal my identity as a woman. But really, I don't care.
No, that's just it. By and large, nobody cares.
When it comes down to it,
the problem is nobody normal cares. Like, normies don't care. But you know who does care? Politicians. Unfortunately, they're more interested with this community giving them more thumbs up on their tweets than actually caring about their constituents. That's the problem. That's where the lies come from, and that's what is fueling this whole war. It is, I mean, they perceive it as their base. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, don't bring me back to it. I already closed it. I didn't close it, but
Bradley Whitford's
fine,
tweet
hold
at the bottom
on.
of that?
Let me hop over and see it. Bradley, oh God, Republican heterosexuals are super, oh my. It's like AOC saying, they only say mean things about me because they want to date me.
I know. Apparently it's not strong enough to survive without regulation. Well, just to let you know, even aside from all of these technological wonders, without heterosexuals.
Yeah, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
It's like you can fight nature, but nature always wins because nature's the system. You are literally here because of that system. You can choose to end your bloodline, and you can be proud of it, but just go do it. Interesting thing. You know what? No, I'm not going to bring up statistics involving this community because that's a rabbit hole no one needs to go down. But that's the reason I mentioned it is I did read an article related to this, the Don't Say Gay, where another guy came out and he said, basically along those lines, that this is bad because the community has been so persecuted that those statistics that I reference are a direct result. He tried to draw that correlation there. And the response was, and again, you gotta take everything in reality with salt, but the response was, no, a lot of these situations, a lot of these individuals, not all of them, not even most of them, I'll say some of these individuals are just, they need mental help. They need counseling. They need someone to talk to. And when you prop it up on social media, as toxic as an environment as it is, they feel like they get that support. And when you take that away, even as fake as it is, it shatters their glass bubble and then they just lose their minds. So it's the blind leading the blind.
Well, it's that narcissistic personality disorder who they're only concerned with the direct effects upon themselves.
Oh, of course.
But they want to preach to everybody else and make them work for the greater good. But when it comes down to it, if they're not getting attention, if they're not getting their way, if they're not the center of the universe and everyone is going out of their way to be nice to them, their world shatters. And I'm sorry, but that's just not how things work, and that's not how you get anything done.
It's never going to work. Even if you feel like it works for a couple of years and you think, this is great, I'm being my true me and everyone's supporting me, sooner or later, people are going to move on to their next thing. And then when you don't have all that shining attention, you're going to start to look inward. And once you look inward, you're not going to like what you see.
Well, and I just want to say, congrats to Chapek for saying that he's not going to.
Oh, Bob Chapek, he's a smart guy. I watched a Doomcock video about how they are I mean, it's all speculation because he has inside sources, but essentially Chapek straight up said, we're done with all this woke crap. They're making, you know, they were going to make Captain Marvel the leader of the Avengers after Captain America died in Endgame. They've apparently, internal chatter is they push that aside. Like Captain Marvel 2 isn't even called Captain Marvel 2. It's called The Marvels, where they bring in other people. Guess who they're putting up top because of popularity?
Who?
Oh, come on. Who's the most popular Marvel hero right now? And you can't say Spider-Man because that's Sony. I had to put that in there because it's such an obvious answer.
Because that's Sony.
Yep.
Thor?
No, he's coming up on his 4th movie where supposedly he's handing the hammer to
Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
They say the internal dialogue is that Doctor Strange will be the new leader of the Avengers across the multiverse. So, again, it does seem as though the trend is finally passing. And all this nonsense, these are the dying whales of that trend.
Well, we just need to keep pushing the pendulum back a little bit. I mean, obviously, we don't want it to swing into the full Red Scare and all that craziness.
That's what I'm saying. The last time the pendulum swung too hard.
But just bring it back home. People need to focus on home, focus on local, focus on the things that they control. Get out there and run for
I absolutely
local
agree
office.
with you. And if that's how that's how the world worked, then we wouldn't be in this situation. The situation that we are in is they have pushed that Overton window, that pendulum, so far over that when it does snap back, it could just destroy everything.
And you and I do need to do a couple more videos, and hopefully we'll start this week videos at night going over some of our entertainment stuff.
Oh, yes, we
I'm
have
very
plans.
looking forward to.
I've created all the overlays, so we can definitely do it. Yes, absolutely. Now, we're over our limit. Do you want to do this last article?
Let's just cover one, talking about local and the things that we can do locally. The Detroit Free Press and a couple other papers released this story. Michigan GOP doesn't disavow candidate who suggested rape victims lie back and enjoy it.
He suggested what?
And, okay, yeah, if that's what he had said, absolutely disavow and talk about how horrible that is.
Are you insinuating he said something aside from what's in the one-line headline?
Yeah, let's not even just go into an insinuation. We should actually go down to the statement.
Go ahead.
So, let's read a little bit of this.
Sure.
Michigan state and local Republican leaders are condemning unspecified comments made by a GOP state house candidate who recently suggested rape victims lie back and enjoy it after he spent months parroting pandemic conspiracy theories and sharing anti-Semitic rhetoric.
Oh boy, he's a Trump supporter. That's all that means.
They really frame that up as, let's get out our pitchforks and go after this guy.
Oh, they're trying.
I mean, they really do. And if you read down into the article and just ignore the headline, which we need to in order to get the people
you gotta go for it, because here's quotes from other people. Here's Republican chairman.
Yeah, so you go further down and it says he made the statement. So,
where is it?
Right after.
Go ahead.
Should be an ad for Detroit Free Press, and it says almost immediately after the primary, his views on Ukraine and the pandemic garnered local and state media attention. But it was Reagan's most recent comments about rape that spurred substantial pushback. He made the statement Sunday during a virtual panel in the context of whether Republicans should continue to argue the 2020 election was stolen. So here's the bigger thing. Okay, stop saying it was. Whether or not you believe that, what they're saying is that he came out telling rape victims that they should just lie back and take it. That is almost verbatim what their title says.
I was going to say, we're halfway into the article, and I've seen nothing that says otherwise. Obviously, we're getting to it, but like you said, the point is we're halfway into the article beyond the headline, and I still haven't seen what he actually said.
Yeah, so, and this is the direct quote, having 3 daughters, and I tell them, well, if rape is inevitable, you should just lie back and enjoy it. So that's not how we roll. That's not how I won the election. We go right at it.
I mean,
he in no way says that rape victims should lie back and enjoy it. He comes out saying, do not be the person that allows something that happens to you to be something that you have to go along with.
I mean, when you put the entire quote there, it's not only reasonable, it's correct.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you don't just lay back and take it and go, oh, well, that was fun. No, you fight.
Yes. Now, bringing rape into any type of analogy, obviously there's going to be pressure points for different people.
He's not wrong, though.
And he's not.
Nope.
When you feel violated on the level that a lot of Americans felt violated when you feel like you've seen the evidence to show that you were wronged and nobody is listening to you, do you just set it down, walk away, and get over it? Or do you continue to fight? That's why you and I made the move that we did. That's why you and I started some of these videos and the things that to show people, don't just read the title, read into it, look into it.
And the more outrageous the response, like if you scroll down, Reverend Lori Pahutsky, who's a Democrat from Livonia, relied on her own experience to express her displeasure with Reagan's words, saying, quote, "Having been in a situation where rape was inevitable, I can promise this man that there's nothing enjoyable about it." That's the point.
Yes. She completely flipped that into, I'm the victim and this man has just attacked me.
That's all they do.
Okay.
It's victim culture.
It is victim culture, and that needs to stop. This mentality that, okay, she doesn't go into specifics, she doesn't talk about what's going on, and there are people out there that horrible things have happened to. We are not discounting that.
Right.
We're not saying that that's not a situation. But turning this into a political ploy to make this guy sound like a rapist, to make this guy sound like he's somebody who would support that type of behavior.
It's despicable.
Especially when he's the one saying, if you feel wronged, fight for what you believe in.
Don't just give up. It is amazing advice that we all should be heeding right now. And yet, the best thing they can do is spin it and try to make, oh, he's attacking me. It's pathetic. But it's even though this is local, this is the Detroit Free Press, again, it's an indication of where the media is at and why they are, to quote a great man, enemy of the people. Everything is spun to their narrative. Everything is spun to drive up outrage in the, I want to say, and I don't want to offend anyone. I don't care if I offend anyone, but I want to say mentally unstable community that they view as their base. Of course, that's a statement just like his that you could take and say, oh, everybody who follows Democrats are mentally unstable according to this dude. Well, I mean, yeah, I do personally believe that. But anyways, mental instability doesn't mean that you're a raving lunatic who needs to be in an asylum. It means you don't read the article. It means you don't look for the quote. It means you don't do research. You don't pay attention. And see, that's why I'm trying to think of a better word.
Well, they're going after and they're targeting all of these people.
They're blissful ignorance.
They're trying to make everybody who stands up against them sound like an Alex Jones.
Exactly.
And sound like...
Which there's nothing wrong with. Because they're doing the freaking frogs gang!
Yes, and he attacked me. You remember the...
oh, do it. Say the Joe Rogan guy.
Yeah.
You were going to say it too! I was going to too! The guy from CNN, their medical expert, I thought
he was going to jump over the table and attack me.
That is how they view these people.
This is... Yes. So if you speak up and you say anything, you're going to physically attack them. That is the shell that they live behind.
Dude, it's pathetic.
I'm cringing in the corner. That's not what we can deal with right now.
We're here to debate.
Well, or because they do that where they quiver in the corner, or the video of those students screaming at the professor.
Oh yeah, the professor.
Where it becomes a...
They just scream to try to drown him out as opposed to actually listening to what he has to say. And then, well, you know what? I respectfully disagree, but cheerios, App.
There is a certain level of... They should have been removed. If you have nothing to contribute to the conversation, if you've gotten to the point where your only argument is you need to go.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
go to your safe space. You can have that. I will allow you to have it. Go live in your little safe space.
The problem is they live in this bubble, and they should be comfortable in it. And yet all they can do is look outside of the bubble and say, I wish that was in my bubble. I want that in my bubble. And then it's nothing but a fight over people who are like, well, no, this is mine. I'm like, I want it. I'm like, well, no, this is mine.
Because we've raised a bunch of children who never earn anything and who are handed everything.
Yeah, yes. This is why I beat my children frequently.
Don't say that.
Frequently with a baseball bat. No, I don't beat my children unless they're...
No, but making sure that they earn things. I remember when we were... when we first got together, and the idea that remember when Allie was really small, we took a toy and we went to the store, we let her buy the toy and we put it on top of the fridge. Mm-hmm. most people at that age, I think she was 4. Yeah, because Kennedy was a baby. So she was 4. So we let her buy the toy, let her see it. Yeah. It's there. Most people would just hand their kid the toy when they got home and say, okay, absolutely, you can have it, go play with it, enjoy, go off so that I can ignore you.
Exactly.
And then it became she has to earn it. You have to do the simple things in life. I mean, we're still teaching the middle child this. But
it's an ongoing war. It never ends to understand that everything in life is a constant struggle to earn. You're never going to be at a point where you don't have to work for what you want. Even when you've gotten to the point where you think you have everything, maintaining it is a job. Maintaining it is work.
Think about even the way that we raise our kids versus the way that our parents raised us.
Sure.
I think we went off track when families stopped sitting down to dinner.
Yep.
And stopped making their own plates and taking care of their areas and started going to the mentality that either they put in their order with their parent and their parent makes everything for them, or they run through a drive-through and it becomes a whatever they want in the moment, and then it's just handed to them.
Yep.
They don't put any work in, they don't put any effort in.
No.
We have to get back to the point where we're teaching our kids to put in that effort.
Well, love or hate it, and you don't have to be religious, but this country and this society, more importantly, was all founded and maintained through religious principles. You don't have to abide by them, but just being respectful, treating with respect, and so that you yourself get treated with respect will clear up 99% of the problems in this country right now. But unfortunately, they've spent so much time dividing people into basically the outraged and those who outrage, from their perspective, of course. It's had a catastrophic effect on the society. But anyways, we have gone quite a bit over. That was a great show. Anything you want to wrap this one up with?
Just that we're getting everything set up.
Yep. Hopefully the
echo's little bit at a time, and so website will be up and running here soon. We'll continue to post these videos. So like, subscribe, make sure that you are smashing those buttons so that we can continue to do what we do.
Come on, man. Yep. That is all for us. Have a good one.